God's desire for man is to coexist in covenantal partnership. That's not something that's talked about very much. It's not something that gets a lot of press. The idea that God wants a relational partnership, wants to work with you as a partner, as a business partner, that's a terrible mistake. It's not as a business partner. He wants to work with you as a marriage partner, as we're the bride of Christ. He wants to work with us within the confines of a covenantal relationship. Spiritual abuse often leaves people feeling powerless. Thus, they cannot see that God empowers them. In other words, it's difficult to visualize the idea that God empowers me to act on his behalf or empowers me to be a partner with him when my experiences at church, when my experiences with other Christians leave me feeling powerless. As we've said many times, man can only relate with the God that he can see. And when my experiences leave me feeling powerless, I can't see a God that empowers me. I become dependent on a system or an establishment rather than becoming dependent on God, because I see the source of my power as the establishment rather than realizing that I have had power transferred from God onto me to be able to execute specific tasks. Yet from creation until now, God has bestowed authority on man to work on his behalf. Therefore, there exists legitimate godly authority, and as God works through relationships and communities, there is also a godly structure of authority. Everyone who claims to act on God's behalf is not out for power or their own glory. Every church is not consistently engaged in spiritual abuse. What distinguishes legitimate versus usurped authority of God is the purpose for which that authority is exercised. Throughout the Bible, God authorizes man to operate on his behalf for three fundamental purposes. One, to care for what God creates. Two, to propagate that which God initiates. And three, to illuminate that which the devil obfuscates. Any other purpose is a bastardization of divinely imbued power, which leads to spiritual abuse, catastrophe, and confusion about who God is. Independent of positive or negative experience, there exists an absolute truth as to who God is. And who God is isn't subject to my experiences. Who God is doesn't change because I've had bad experiences. Who God is doesn't change because I've had good experiences. There is an independent and absolute truth to who he is. This truth can only be revealed by God himself. And he has throughout history spoken this truth and given it to man that we can know him better and relate with him. He continues to speak today, and the devil continues to cloud men's hearts and minds. Let us leave today remembering that God has a plan for man, and that his plan and his revelation of himself is not changed by man's imperfections nor Satan's perversions. He is the loving God who sees incalculable value in humanity and has revealed himself in order to allow man to experience intimate fellowship and partnership with him. Any other questions?